Have you ever Googled what's my interior design style? I definitely have in the past just to see, just out of curiosity. And the results are always very cookie cutter. And I think that's the trap of asking the internet what your style is, because it's gonna be a little too one note. And so today's video, I'm going to give my best tips and like process for honing your own unique interior design style. I am using the word style with a caveat here, because to me the word style is a little too static. It's like too definitive, too set in stone, and pretty specific. If you think about terms like boho, mid-century modern, Japandi, Scandinavian, those kind of terms are just too specific and put you in a certain box that maybe you feel like you can't get out of or you can't explore beyond. I think these terms can be useful for describing certain aspects of styles that you like or pieces of furniture that you like, but I don't think they're super helpful for helping you describe your entire design aesthetic. You know, they really are trendy terms. And interior design is not about following trends or following someone else's idea of what's cool. There's always a new flavor of the week in the design world, and you know, we're always being pitched the next cool thing. And trends really do change faster than you can say chinoiserie. Chinoiserie. One day I'm gonna know how to say this word. Comment below if there was like a design trend that you followed that now is just like really cringy to you or that you're really embarrassed about. I'll start. Mine was the macrame trend of the early, what was that, like 2010s? Yeah. At the time, I was a visual display artist for anthropology, and you learn all kinds of cool things. The visual display artist is the person that creates the window displays, but every anthropology store has an art studio in the back. They basically have an artist for every store that creates the window displays. You know, you're sort of like forced to learn crafts. You're not forced. That sounds like torture. No, you are inspired and encouraged to learn different crafts depending on the direction for the window display. So I was the visual display artist, and the theme of the season was macrame. They wanted us to create these macrame displays. So I learned all of these different techniques. There's not just one way to macrame. There's like all these different techniques. I learned a few and I really ran with it. Macrame everything. Macrame hanging plants, macrame curtains, macrame room dividers, you name it. I macramade it. So that's my embarrassing trend. What's yours? Comment below. I would love to know. But you can't rely on trends to serve you in the long run, because interior design is truly a slow art. So while you can buy a dopamine hit by chasing the next hot thing, it won't bring you any closer to being happier at home, because it's really just a reflection of the latest marketing ploy. Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name's Lou. I'm an interior designer and a painter and just general lover of all things cute and cozy. I have absolute no authority over your interior design style. Zip, zero, zilch. You know, at the end of the day, you are the ultimate authority on your interior design style because you're the one who has to live with it. I'm just simply someone who loves interior design. I read about it, I pen about it. I help guide clients through the process of renovating and designing their own spaces. So I'm simply here as a conduit for information and for inspiration, hopefully. So subscribe if you're into that kind of stuff. I'm gonna share my process. Sorry. I'm going to share my process of finding an interior design style for my clients and for myself. I feel like this is a pretty broad and general guide. So here we go. I think the most important thing to remember about your design style is that it takes time to figure it out. It's not like, hey, take this 5-minute quiz and we'll tell you everything you need to know about your style. No, this is a slow art, like I said, and it takes time to figure out what you love and what like lights you up inside. Design is an evolution over time, and for me personally, I know that my particular style has gone from the hole, but it's all part of the honing and refining process of just like being a dang human and figuring out what lights you up inside and what makes you feel the most comfortable. Because at the end of the day, your home should be the most comfortable place that you know of. And just another note about the design process taking time is, along with time, it takes a lot of experimentation. Try something, you live with it for a little while, and if you hate it or something feels off, take it down and try again. It's, to me, my design style is a moving target. And I do think it can be a challenge because, furniture, lighting, decor items, they can be really expensive. And so there is a sense of like preciousness. Furniture, lighting, decor, all of these things together really add up. And it's not something that you want to rush into. So just remember, at the end of the day, it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. So when I hear clients say, I don't know what my style is, or I need help finding my style, I am like, forget about it. Don't try to label who you are with words. Words can be helpful when looking for inspiration images, but they're not the goal. They're not the end goal. So forget about the descriptive words and start with inspiration. This can be real life or online. I think it's a good practice to take photographs, make notes. If you're out somewhere in the real world, like hotels, restaurants, little cafes can all be really great inspiration. Take photographs and make a little album on your phone, like interiors I love or spaces I love. If you want to get really nerdy, create a note in your notes app and write down the reasons that you love a space. Is it the lighting, a certain tile or fabric that you saw? Is it like a combination of things, like the layering? I think it's just good to have that reference on top of the visual reference, because some spaces can like stop you in your tracks and you want to like remember why. And I think photographs only tell you like part of the story. So having the note or having, the journal aspect is really helpful. But for your inspiration, you want to really think about things that you love, like things that light you up, that bring you joy. For me, it's color and texture and layering of patterns, what brings you comfort, because you do want to be comfortable in your home. Does like a tidy, minimal home bring you comfort? Or does like an eclectic and collected interior make you comfortable? Comfortable. But I think it's good to have that information as a jumping off point, because when you start to collect images, you want to weed out the ones that aren't going to realistically make you comfortable in your space. And so this step of the process is just saving and collecting images, Pinterest, on a file on your computer, on your phone, creating a bank of inspiration images that we're going to reference in just a minute. So I think the next step in this process is to go through your home and assess the things that you already have that you have to make work. So like your sofa or a rug, for instance. So there are those things that you need to work with. And then also assess the items that you love, like things from your travels, things with a memory attached to them, and find the things that reflect your interests, reflect the things you love. This could be, music. Are you a record collector? This could become like a central focus in your home, like it is ours. Are there pieces of artwork that you own that you love? Are there pieces of furniture that you already own that you want to feature or have be the focal point? And in gathering all these things that you love, you will create a timeless collection that you can build off of. And by timeless, I mean, not trendy. They're not something that you just walked into Target and purchased off the shelf because you need to fill a hole in your wall. To me, that kind of gets too far away from reflecting who you are. And then consider unusual items that aren't necessarily something you would consider like an interior design item, but something that does have meaning to you. For me, it's like I have this 1940s silk kimono that is gorgeous. And it's something that I spent a lot of money on. And I'm like, why don't I just pull that out and display it? Because that is like a work of art. Collecting these things really helps you hone in on who you are and helps sort of guide you to this like visual representation of you. Looking at your wardrobe can also really help you decide or determine what color palette you're drawn to and what you really love. So take a look at your wardrobe. You know, is it minimal and neutral? Is it vintage and quirky? You know, if you're feeling totally lost about the color palette that you're drawn to, this could be a really good indication of what might work well in your space. So the next, and I think probably the most important or helpful part of the process, is starting a mood board. I made a whole video about creating a mood board. There are no rules. This could be just like a really simple, sloppy, fast way of gathering all those inspiration images and information that we collected earlier and just getting them on a canvas together so that you can start to find common threads, commonalities between all of these things that you truly love. Don't sweat perfection here. This plant, I keep hitting it with I'm sorry, baby. But like I said, don't sweat perfection. We're just trying to get all of these images in one space together. And this mood board can be physical if you're old school or you just have a lot of reference materials. I find that the physical mood boards are a little harder these days because many of us don't really get magazine subscriptions anymore. I personally love a physical mood board, but it is harder to put together. It takes a little more time and effort, but totally worth it. I think it's the better way to go if you have a lot of reference materials like design magazines, fabric swatches, you know, material swatches. If you don't, then go digital. Pinterest, Microsoft PowerPoint, Google, what would you use? Google presentation? I don't know what it's called, but it's like a PowerPoint equivalent in Google. You get the point. Like you want to pull all these images together so that you can see them all in one spot. And then I would start to go through all of these images and pull out the ones that feel like outliers, if there's just not melding with everything else. And you want to try to create a grouping of images that feel somewhat related. You don't want to have a super like minimal, cold, modern image of a living room next to an eclectic Scandinavian interior. It's going to confuse you in the end. So I would try to pull off as many of the outliers as possible so that you're left with what feels pretty cohesive group of images. These can be like fashion references, fabrics, artwork, images, you know, as long as it's feeling like you and like something that you love. If you're like, hell yeah, this feels like me, this is cool, I feel like, then you know you're on the right track. Okay, so this mood board is going to be your guidepost for designing your spaces. This mood board is the most indicative gesture of what your style is, I think. And then I just find this mood board to be super helpful when I'm in the market and I'm finally ready to purchase a new something for my home. I will go back to this mood board to check myself. Like if I find a rug that I really love online and I'm like, I want to buy this, but is it going to work? I'll go back to my mood board. Even if the rest of the furniture in my space isn't quite where I want to be yet, I want to make sure that anything new I'm purchasing is going to align with my vision for the future. So don't worry too much about whether it's going to work right now because, you know, like I said, it's an evolution. We're reaching for this goal. But my point is I'm always referencing the mood board for proof of concept for anything new that I'm bringing into my house. Of course, you can change the mood board and I encourage you to. I'm constantly pinning new things to my, I think it's called home Pinterest board. And any decision I make, like I'm about to paint the walls in my home, I'm going to my mood board and I'm just gonna like make sure it feels right with the images that I've saved so far because I know, hey, I've spent a lot of time and effort collecting these images. I want to make sure this paint color I'm choosing and spending money on and time on painting is gonna work with this vision I have. Another thing I love to do outside of the mood board is to have physical material samples that I can tape to my wall as a reference. In the past, I've collected wallpaper swatches and fabric swatches and just had a little like mood board collage just hanging off the wall. I tacked it to the wall and I was constantly able to reference it. It also like made me feel good about the state of my space in the moment because my space wasn't really where I wanted it to be yet. You know, I wanted a new sofa and I wanted a new rug. So having that like physical material palette taped or tacked to the wall just gave me a little sigh of relief. Like, okay, we're gonna get there. I know where we're headed. We're not there yet, but like I have this vision and I know where I'm going. So that can be really helpful. So I feel like at this point, we've done enough of the work, the hard work of figuring out what we love, finding images that inspire us, looking at what we already own and deciding, you know, what we want to work with, what feels like a true reflection of ourselves. We know where we're headed. Great. Now I feel like is the time when you can sprinkle in a trendy item. Right now in 2024, a scalloped edge, a little wavy edge on things like lampshades, pillowcases, curtains is really trendy, and I personally think it's adorable, and I wouldn't mind owning a little curvaceous scalloped thing. So I would feel comfortable sprinkling in that little trend in with the rest of my decor because I know not everything in my home is a trendy item. I think we can be inspired by trends, but not let them lead the way. You know, it's really fun to walk into a place like Target or West Elm, Crate and Barrel, and see the thing that you've seen on TikTok or on Instagram and really want that dopamine hit, you know, feel like you're getting something that's like cool and of the times. But I would just say proceed with caution, make sure it's something you really love, and make sure it's not like a big ticket item. You don't want a big, expensive, trendy piece that you spend a lot of money on that's gonna fall out of style in 6 months and that you're gonna end up regretting purchasing. I've been there. It can be a really big waste of money and time. So I would say sprinkle in the trends, let them be affordable, smaller pieces that you can swap out, give to a friend, donate to a thrift store at a later date if you get sick of it, and not stress the financial aspect of it. And that to me is how to find your interior design style. This process should be fun. It shouldn't stress you out. It shouldn't be rushed, and it shouldn't be taken too seriously because at the end of the day, we want our homes to be comforting, stress-free. And if you're stressing about what your style is or what curtains you should buy, that defeats the purpose of like calling a place home. Just my 2 cents. All right. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye.